From the kitchen of the cabin and around the world, this is Voices from the Solitude, a podcast about the coronavirus and gaming. Today I'm talking to Marc Specter. We talk about running a small publisher in this. So I'm here with Phil's younger brother, Marc Specter, the owner and president, I guess, of Grand Gamers Guild, who published the Artemis Project and Endeavour, although they spelt it wrong. So firstly, I just want to ask, how are you coping with the lockdown? Whereabouts in America are you, and kind of what has been implemented there?
Sure. So I'm in the Midwest in Michigan, and I don't pay a lot of attention to other states. However, I would say that Michigan is in a very curious place. What I mean by that is I think there's a small contingent of folks who lean right, and also quite a lot of small business. So that Venn diagram really overlaps. And you see a lot of folks who are essentially flouting orders, just defying edicts. And personally, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I get it, even if I don't agree with it. Just yesterday, I was out and about doing my once weekly shopping and saw a number of people without masks, even though the state has ordered that you should be wearing masks. A bunch of people who don't know how to wear a mask, which was incredibly entertaining. I think there's some common sense involved there, between your nose and your chin and what should be covered. And apparently not everybody gets that. So, hey, more power to them. Other than that, personally, I'm hanging on. I have a pretty good rhythm to my life. I'm divorced, and so I have my kids week on, week off, and I have a really good pattern to my life when they're with me and an okay pattern to my life when they're not with me.
And so have you, as Michigan, is Michigan one of the states with the protesters going to City Hall and saying, I want my hair cut?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. We had quite a robust demonstration in Lansing, Michigan last week where the Capitol steps were occupied. And I don't know if the governor was there or not. Obviously, she was completely aware of what was going on. There's some mystery as to whether the protest did or did not hinder medical care that day, since there was a hospital in close proximity to the whole thing. But I'm sure it's not the last demonstration that's going to take place. There haven't been anything local, though, even though Grand Rapids is Michigan's second largest city.
And is there who is the incumbent? Are they a Democrat or a Republican? And does that sort of give colour to the particular demonstrations that are happening?
Yeah, if you're talking about the political affiliation of the current governor, yes, the governor is a Democrat, and she is at very public odds with our president. And, shots are fired, metaphorically speaking, on an almost daily basis. I feel like it's actually calmed down a little bit. But last week and the week before that, I think were pretty intense with the, let's call the othering of one another between the president and the governor. And
so how do you feel that Michigan is doing in general in coping with the virus? What are the numbers like? And apart from a few sort of kooks, are people basically doing what the authorities have asked?
Okay, so what I see on a local basis mostly seems to be people adhering to what the authorities are asking. In terms of our state numbers, last I saw, they were actually pretty abysmal. From the onset of the pandemic, we were running in top 3 in terms of everything: testing, infection, mortality, the whole 9 yards, which is kind of interesting given that we're, at least I think of Michigan as a pretty rural state, aside from basically your 3 major cities, which are Detroit, Grand Rapids, and then Lansing is like a far, far third. So for a state that is populated by a bunch of smaller places, for us to be running at number 3, I think is a pretty sad statement, all things considered.
And so, you're Jewish, and I noticed, I don't know a huge amount about the Jewish calendar, but I noticed sort of Passover happened during the crisis, and people were doing seders and they were social distancing. How has that affected the sort of Jewish community around you? Did you have to do things over Zoom?
Yeah, so I know a number of people, both on their own and who through the temple did do did do their Seder electronically. I know that, I'm pretty sarcastic. And so I made at least one plague-based joke, based on the pandemic. Not sure that was in good taste, but, humor is how I deal with things. So I'm always trying to at least make myself laugh, even if I don't make anyone else laugh. But, people, you carry on. You make do. You do electronic stuff, or you don't do it at all, or you, just spare a thought for the occasion and, say, hey, next year in Jerusalem.
So coming on then to you as a publisher. So you've had a game coming out just as the pandemic hit. You had Endangered. What have the problems been as a small publisher dealing with this kind of event?
Sure. So as a small publisher, I have a few contractors I work with consistently, but I'm pretty much my only employee. The only person who, that's not really true. I was going to say the only person I pay regularly, but that's not actually correct. So, I do have some salaries to meet for all intents and purposes, and I have to be super, super careful, quite frankly, about what I pay myself. And I don't pay myself a lot. I never have. But when I do my monthly budget, I'm really asking myself, do I even need to pay myself at all? Can I survive this month without taking a personal infusion of cash from my business? Because as a small publisher, I'm still in a position where every project creates the dollars that makes the next one happen. It's the way the business operates. It's the reason I continue to use Kickstarter, and that's just the way it goes. So I got really lucky with Garinto. Garinto as a project essentially closed about a week before the pandemic became something that was really in the public consciousness. And I'm very grateful for that. Likewise, I got really lucky in the fact that I got Endangered, my previous project, onto a ship freighted to the United States right before the Chinese New Year happened, which rolled right into the shutdown of China through their own circumstances. Now my biggest obstacle is the fact that Endangered sits in my garage and in PSI's warehouses, essentially unable to move unless I get a personal order, which is actually what I was doing right before we connected, Ben. I was packing up orders for both the base game and the expansion that came through over the past day or two. So yeah, it's without distribution moving units, and with all conventions essentially on either shutdown or rescheduled, pending another potential shutdown, it is a little bit of a scary time.
How important are conventions for you? What service do they provide to you as a small publisher?
So, honestly, from May until early December, late November, that is the bulk of my income for an entire year. It is what keeps the doors open, the lights on, and all that stuff. So to not be able to attend from a monetary basis is extremely painful. It's a huge influx of cash that's just gone. From a personal level, there are tons of people that I want to connect with in the industry, people who've backed my Kickstarters. There is nothing but joy between us when they come up and go, hey, are you the guy behind that project? And I go, why, yes, I am the publisher. And they're, they introduce themselves and they say, hey, I backed this. And there are hugs and handshakes and conversation and no lack of gratitude, because they're the grease that keeps the engine moving. There's reviewers who I don't get to meet and hand product to. So then I have to ask myself, do I ship it? And in this time, is it worth putting out product for review when no one's going to buy it? You need those things to be timed and to hit in a way that benefits the business. Reviews don't happen just for fun. There's other publishers that I don't get to network with, manufacturers I don't get to network with, and all the people who over the past 4 years have, thrown their hat into the arena to help me, volunteers at conventions, friends who I've met over the years at gaming conventions. We live in a society that is facilitated by all the electronic connections, but there is nothing that compares to sitting across the table, whether it's a gaming table or a food table or both, to all the people that you've connected with electronically over the past 6, 12, 18 months and beyond. It means a lot. It reinforces the connections, and, we'll all survive. Those relationships aren't going away, but being able to ping on their radar to shake their hand, give them a hug, talk to them in person is incomparable. It's why we game, right? It's to be with other people. It's to not have the electronic barrier in between us.
So if the majority of your income is over that sort of period of time, what contingency plans do you have this year to sort of make up that shortfall, or can you not?
Well, I've always been a big saver and a big budgeter. I don't live a lavish lifestyle. Most of my entertainment comes through the business in terms of hanging out with friends and playing games, going to conventions and having experiences around that. So cutting all that out from a business perspective means it gets cut out from a personal perspective. It just means that I pull up my bootstraps and figure out how to make it work. Again, I'm a big saver and a big budgeter. I plan for rainy days. I'm very fortunate that I've been able to set aside an emergency fund, and we're on the cusp of an emergency in the Grand Gamers Guild household. So that's okay. We'll make it work.
So part of the reason I contacted you is I saw a Facebook post, and it said, what should we do to help? And it was addressed towards board game media, and I think it's slightly fatuous because I'm not sure board game media can do much. But the question was, what can we do as a community to help small publishers? Now, I've done a series on FLGSs, and we kind of understand the need for that. What can we do to help people like you, publishers that are small, that have 2 or 3 projects a year, that over this time we can help to make sure you stay afloat?
Right. So as I answer this question, it's a really big personal struggle for me because as much as I want people to go out and buy my games, I realize that everyone is in the middle of their own personal emergency right now. And to ask them to spend money on board games is a little bit self-serving and almost feels a little bit dirty. However, as a friend pointed out to me, there are quite a number of people whose lifestyle hasn't changed. They are still working, albeit from home or limited office hours. They are still making a robust income that affords them entertainment. And so I guess, first let me say that, if you can't afford my games or any games, please do not go buy games. Please take care of your food needs, your electric, gas, whatever it is. Do those things first. But if you are among the people in the population who do still have income to spare for entertainment, the best thing you can do if you're going to purchase board games, and my games are games that you believe will entertain you, is to buy them directly from my website. There are a lot of third parties out there, and there's a lot of platforms on which those third parties appear. But if your goal is to help out small publishers, the best thing you could do is to order from their website. And just like Kickstarter, where Kickstarter takes a cut as a platform and the publisher gets the rest to do the things like create the games and make a profit and make it to the rest of their business, make it through the rest of their business year, by buying directly from my website, aside from the portal that I use that acts as my store, the majority of the income comes to me and to all the other publishers out there that maintain their web stores. And, 10 people do that. That is tremendous. So yeah, that is the best thing you could do, is take a little bit of extra time to go to the publisher's website and to order from them directly.
Well, brilliant. I mean, we wouldn't be here if there wasn't a reason. So let people know, what is your website and what have you got on offer for them to purchase if they
Sure. So the website is grandgamersguild.com, and all of our games are up in the web store there. Sort of working backwards, Endangered is our newest release. It's a cooperative game about saving endangered species. From the website, you can order that game. You can order the Kickstarter edition or the retail edition. You can order the expansion. And we actually have some free content or very inexpensive print and play content available for download if you are already an owner of the product and just want to further your experience. I think it's an especially good time for a game like this because it is a cooperative game, and it does, I don't want to say it skews younger, but it can be appreciated by parents who are willing to guide kids, say 10 and up, through the process. I think that's real important, and engage them in a game. Other than that, prior to that, also on the website, and actually almost concurrent with it, is we have Endeavor Age of Expansion. So you do need Endeavor to play. Both of those are for sale at the website. And then my other big game that I'll make mention of, so as not to make this a complete commercial, is the Artemis Project. I continue to get daily amazing feedback on the Artemis Project. I have the retail edition available. I have both Kickstarter editions available, the Pioneer that comes with all the bling, but not in the metal tokens, and the Galileo, which comes with all the bling and the metal tokens. And and I guess I would also be remiss if I did not mention Stroop, which is our real-time game that I like to call the thinkiest filler you'll ever play. It tests all your cognitive abilities. It plays super fast, and that's kind of impulse purchase price. It's $15. And we have a whole new overhauled edition. The graphic design is by Josh Capel. It is a beautiful game and one that is easy entry for everybody.
Brilliant. Well, Marc, best of luck, and hopefully your life remains as regular and unhindered during the crisis. As
yep, I appreciate that. Sometimes I like to say an uneventful existence is sometimes the best existence.
If you want to support content like this, you can go to patreon.com/5G4D. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and if you can, stay at home.